Hello, great people. The Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee has rejected Afe Babalola's request to debar Dele Farotimi. You will recall that Dele Farotimi and Afe Babalola has been in a legal tussle over alleged defamation by Dele Farotimi in his book titled Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. And when Dele Farotimi was remanded in prison custody, good news that he has now been released anyway. When he was remanded in prison custody, the Lord Chambers of Afe Babalola wrote the LPDC, the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee, to debar Dele Farotimi. In plain terms, what that means is that they don't want Dele Farotimi to be recognized as a lawyer anymore in Nigeria. On this episode, we'll be looking at the action of Afe Babalola, the response of LPDC, the significance of it, and the associated issues surrounding it. What this means for Dele Farotimi and ordinary Nigerians as well. We'll be looking at that and a whole lot more on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omosholadeji. The first thing that came to my mind, that crossed my mind when I heard the news, is that you see, in life, don't play God. In the sense that so long as human beings interact, there's bound to be conflict. And when conflicts emerge, definitely there's bound for the conflict to be settled, and it is people that will intervene or the law will intervene. And naturally, as Africans, as Yoruba people, it is of the view that when things happen and people have intervened, you are expected to apply some restraint, or should I call it some wisdom, in handling the issue. You will recall that Peter Obi visited Afe Babalola in Ekiti State, yet Afe Babalola refused to let go. In fact, it was after Peter Obi's visit that Afe Babalola wrote the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee to debar Dele Farotimi. Now, what did the LPDC, what was their response to Afe Babalola's request? LPDC responded. They said that they cannot debar Dele Farotimi because the defamation evolved out of Dele Farotimi's capacity as an author, not a lawyer. That the defamation, when it occurred, it was out of Dele Farotimi's writing. So the activity that led to the defamation was being an author, writing a book, not, not that he was practicing law at that time. He didn't commit any infraction in the court or to hinder or manipulate the justice system. So the LPDC, which is the disciplinary body for lawyers, says they cannot take action against Dele Farotimi because it will be ultra vires beyond their powers, because the defamation evolved out of his action, not a legal action, but out of his scholarship action in writing a book. So by that premise, they cannot debar Dele Farotimi based on that. And they now advise that if you feel defamed, approach the law court. That they advise that you should approach the law court instead of seeking to debar Dele Farotimi. In my mind, what an intelligent response. Sincerely. What a brilliant response. What a brilliant way to save Nigeria and Nigerians. Because you and I know that if this thing, the debar Dele Farotimi, any little thing, people will be seeking, oh yeah, debar this one, derecognize this one, withdraw this one's award. That's what will eventually happen. So kudos to LPDC. And as I said earlier, don't play God. God will always be God. Man will be man. And human beings are bound to be in conflict with one another by virtue of their interaction and, human relations. So, and another thing is that, you see, I realize that it is better not to over push than to do so and be disgraced. What I see in this Afe Babalola's action is he over pushing. I think Afe Babalola over pushed his bound. And at the end of the day, for a whole Afe Babalola, a legal luminary's request to be denied, somebody that has spent over 60 years practicing law, it is expected that that person will know left from right, will know what the offense that can make you to be debarred as a lawyer. So for that kind of person to now send a request and that request is denied, questions his legal intellectual credibility, although it wasn't Afe Babalola that wrote it, but it is his disciples. So that questions the intellectual sagacity of the disciples of Afe. And I want to imagine that they would have consulted Afe Babalola before submitting it. Did Afe, kind of like give them any legal advice at all? Because to me, it is over pushing. You cannot seek to, because of defamation, and permit me to use the word. I'm not encouraging defamation. Defamation is a serious offense. You can't seek to bring down people unjustly. So I'm not in support of defamation in any way. But in the true sense of Nigeria, if we look at the high profile crimes that people commit, what is defamation? And I've said it before. If we are talking of defamation, the people that should be fighting against defamation the most is the politicians. Do you know how many people are defaming Bola Ahmed Tinubu every day? Every blessed day, they are defaming him. Do you know how many people are defaming Peter Obi every blessed day? So if Peter Obi, Bola Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, all these high-profile guys, even Yeson Wike, do you know how many people are defaming these guys every day? So if they want to take action, definitely the prison walls will be filled with a lot of people. That's the truth. So if people are committing criminality, banditry, terrorism, and even those people, you are not seeking to debar or to withdraw their certificate or anything, defamation. What Afe has done is an attempt to personalize the institution. What that means is that Afe thinks he is the law. No, sir. You are not the law. You are a lawyer. There's a difference between the law and a lawyer. A lawyer is a practitioner in the temple of justice. He is a stakeholder. The law is what even made the lawyer himself. The law has always existed. The institution, the legal institution has always existed before Afe was born. And it will keep existing after Afe has been born. So Afe is not the law. Afe is a lawyer. But seeking to debar Dele Farotimi because he has committed an offense against you as a person, that means that you are seeing yourself as the law. No, sir, you are not the law. It's like an engineer seeing himself as engineering, as the engineer. No, engineering has always existed before that engineer was born and even become an engineer. So engineering is different from an engineer. You are an engineer, not engineering itself. You are a politician, but you are not the state. The state is bigger than you. Human beings will come and go, but the state will remain. You will come and go. I will come and go. People have been coming and going. But Nigeria as a country, if God tarries is coming, and there's no secession or division of the country into various other countries, it will remain. So, you politicians, you are not the state. You are a politician, a stakeholder in the state. So, Afe sees himself as the law. He failed to realize that he is a lawyer and not the law. And that's why LPDC has put him in his place and said, no, sir, we cannot take action against Dele Farotimi because he defamed you. And I think kudos to LPDC. So, Afe Babalola should seek redress in court. Because if Dele Farotimi, if the debarment has been granted, politicians will abuse it. If anything happens, they will just, the next thing, they will be seeking out to debar the person. So I thank LPDC for not laying this precedent, because politicians usually look for this loophole to extort. And at the end of the day, it is we, the citizen, that usually create some of these loopholes for them. When you open the door and they see that, they'll just think somewhere, okay. Before you know it, if you offend anybody, the politician will just be secure, will just write ICANN. Do you recognize this person as an accountant? Imagine that. The politician will just write the university, withdraw this person's, master's or PhD certificate. Thank God. The only thing you can withdraw on my own side is the BSc. That's the only education I have in Nigeria. If you write a foreign institution that withdraw BSc, they will just laugh at you. In fact, all of them, they will just be laughing. They will laugh and roll on the floor that, what is this one saying? So if your highest qualification is in Nigeria and LPDC had granted Afe Babalola's request. Tomorrow, when you offend a politician or one big influential person, they'll just write the school that based on this and this and this, they'll just find one silly argument that your degree should be withdrawn. Imagine that. Where would that leave us as a country? Kudos to LPDC. And Afe Babalola should be careful of the people around him. Because I think those people are even playing their love you more than God approach. I think they are over pushing the man. I think, they are the one, saying we no go gree, we no go gree. Why you no leave the man to fight his battle? I think he should be careful of the advice that he receives, and he should always remember what people will say when it's eventually gone, because he's closer to God's clarion call than Dele Farotimi himself by virtue of age. I wish all of them the best, and I hope they will settle this thing amicably. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politics with Dr. Omoshola. Subscribe, turn on your notification button. I'll see you in my next video. I love you all sincerely.